Welcome to Tenacity with Sonia C, the podcast for founders, entrepreneurs, dreamers, and leaders navigating the journey of growth. In each episode, we get into the setbacks, the rebuilds, the pivots, and the lessons learned along the way. These are honest conversations with leaders who face challenges head on and found success in business and in life. I'm your host, Sonia, and let's get started. My guest today is Larissa Schneider. She is the co-founder and COO of Unframe, a company helping large enterprises move AI from experimentation into real operational use. Larissa has spent more than a decade in enterprise technology, holding senior roles at companies scaling through IPO and acquisition. At Unframe, she and her team have raised $50 million to build a platform focused on practical, governed AI adoption inside complex organizations. She works directly with C-level leaders at Fortune 500 companies, which gives her a clear view into how major enterprises actually make decisions about AI and where those decisions stall. Today's conversation is about execution, what it takes to move from idea to implementation, what founders misunderstand about enterprise sales cycles, and what leadership looks like when you're building inside a global, high expectation environment. Hi, Larissa. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hey, doing well. Thanks for having me, Sonia.
Yeah. So let's get down to it. You've spent years scaling enterprise tech companies. What made you decide to step into the founder seat?
Yeah, actually, interesting one. I don't think I really set out to do that. Even though I actually studied international management and entrepreneurship in university, but it somehow just happened because the need was so strong. It kind of pulled us our way, and it was like this one moment in time where you're like, okay, it's either now or never, and I'm like, let's just go for it and don't think about it too much. Just jump on the occasion.
So, talk to me a little bit about what you were doing and where you saw the opportunity to make that shift.
Yeah, so we are three founders, and we were all working together in the cybersecurity world. And so
Okay.
it was an exciting time. Shai, who's my co-founder and the CEO of our business, he was the co-founder and CTO of a company called No Name Security. And we're having fun. Like cybersecurity is exciting, but then AI happened, and it was kind of that moment where you started getting like chat GPT out of your pocket for every question you had. Like overnight it kind of become our doctor and our gardener and our legal expert, all of it, right? And then you would log
Yeah.
into your computer at work and you'd be like, and now I'm finding myself copying stuff from an email into a tool, downloading a PDF, attaching it again, sending back very clunky, very old, nothing in natural language. And we're like, what is happening? Like enterprises want to adopt AI, but they don't know how to and they don't know where to start. And we're like, we
Yeah.
need to fix this. And we just jumped on it together, the three of us, because we know each other for a while and it was working really well. We're very complementary in our skill set. And so it was the moment to do it.
That's so important when in your finding that in your co-founders as well. When you co-founded Unframe, what did you believe would be harder than it looked?
I thought because so all of us came from a background in selling to enterprises. And now we're starting this new business. And actually, within 2 or 3 weeks of starting, we went to our first conference because we never wanted to be this company that sits in like the garage and thinks about what the world needs. Like we wanted to hear it
Mm,
firsthand. And so we went there and it was actually, it was amazing conversations we had from the get-go and they were really interested. But then came this conversation of like, so how long have you been around? And this is not the moment you tell a CIO of like a Fortune 500, like two and a
yeah.
half weeks. It's like it was very, very awkward. And so
Yeah.
it was like getting that initial enterprise trust was not easy, and we knew it was going to be hard, but it obviously was hard and it's still hard because sometimes we go head to head with the Microsoft and the Googles of the world, and the
Yeah.
credibility stamp on those versus a new-ish startup is still an important one and something that you need to work on every day.
Yeah, let's dig into that a little bit because I think it's an interesting conversation because a lot of our listeners are early stage founders who could be trying to get into that enterprise level sale. I mean, B2B business is always the best one to be in. So, can you tell us a little bit, a couple of things that maybe you did to help you get into that space and, get the trust from those types of buyers?
Yeah, we started working on partnerships pretty early on because if you can partner up with someone who already has that trust, you kind of can piggyback on
Mm,
top of that a little bit. So that was important. That's how we got the first few of our initial customers. Um, we also always focused on customer marketing. So how can we put our customers on a stage or something? It took a while. Let's not kid
mm,
ourselves. Like to get the customer signed and onboarded and happy enough to talk on your behalf, it just takes a long time. So take baby steps, I would say, in that
yeah.
regard. But it's still to this point, focus on it as quickly as you possibly humanly can. That's important. And then because we are a tech company and work with a lot of like really important mission critical tech, if you will, it's like just having flexibility around like what we require in terms of machines and security possibilities and setup and like the whole tech stack to fit into
Hmm.
what the enterprise actually needs. So they don't need to change any of their habits to work with you. We just fit into
Yeah.
what they need. That also helped us from the get-go.
So, help me sort of create a scenario of
Mhm.
what kind of partnership did you develop, and like what was like the first partnership that you establish, and how did you go about it?
Yeah, so actually it came pretty inbound, I would say. It was somewhat of a LinkedIn influencer who was very interested in what we were doing, found us through her network, and she was like, "Look, I know a lot of people in my network that are CIOs that do run tech teams in companies. Like, what if we partner up? You come out here, you fly to where she was based for 2, 3
Mm-hmm.
days, and I'll put you in front of my network, and then we can see how it resonates. If it comes to a close, well, obviously she gets a kickback on that, and so it just
Yeah.
it worked really well from the get-go, and that was a huge enabler for us very early on. Sometimes we also partner with other like technology companies, so they are already working with a customer on a certain parts of the piece, but they don't have our capabilities. We don't have their capabilities. Let's go in it together and kind of attack it from both sides. We do that
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit.
So you, some of the partnerships that you do is where the second party will complement your offering, and then you go at it
Correct.
together. All right.
Correct.
Do
Yeah.
you ever win deals because you have those partnerships?
I would say we would maybe not from the technical capabilities, but more we wouldn't have known that these opportunities existed if it wasn't for the partnership.
Got it. Got it. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So, you've raised $50 million. What changes the moment that capital hits your bank?
Yeah, and actually, hot off the press, we just announced our
Uh,
latest round. So we're up to 100 million now.
wow. That's
So
a lot to raise for a startup.
yeah, it's a lot. It's over 3 rounds, and it took us 2 years. But honestly, AI is happening right now. It's like
Mhm.
you don't have the luxury like you have in other fields where you're like, okay, let's wait a year or so. It's like the market is moving extremely fast and it's moving today. And so
Mhm.
today is where you need to act and get in front of customers, open new markets, and build out your team to support that scaling aspect. So that is it's exciting. Do we always need all the money? That's a different question, but it definitely gives you
Mhm.
the confidence in making decisions because you're not putting the whole business and all of the employees and their families on the line. Like you can think about, is this the right move to make? Because there might be a money aspect attached to it, and you can do that
Mhm.
because you know the money is in the bank, and even if you make one wrong turn, you can still course correct.
Yeah. So one of the things that I sort of always point out, like with raising capital comes great responsibility and having a boss. That's my way of putting it. What was it like for you guys to, go from we have this idea, we're going to start this startup, we're going to be entrepreneurs to raising this much capital, and now I assume you have a board to report
Mhm.
to and you essentially have a boss. What was that like for you guys?
Yeah, it's actually something that happened very quickly because we were ideating, and while that happened, we were approached by some VCs and just decided to partner up like immediately. So we didn't
Mm,
have a long period of it's just us. So it was the boss, as you put it, was always there. But because Shai had just exited his previous company, No Name, and had the experience of being like a very successful entrepreneur with multiple exits and so on, it's like we knew the market and the landscape of what the VC world looks like. And we said we really want to work with amazing people that are great partners to us, that
mm,
have the same eagerness and craziness. Obviously, they're hard sometimes because they all have the best interest of the business, and that's it's an exciting environment. You don't want someone who just says yes to everything. It's like it's healthy to have a good discussion. And all of our board members, there's three of them, they are really, really amazing, and they work together well with each other as well as with us. And honestly, we couldn't be happier about our board.
So when you raise that much money, does it take the pressure off of we gotta, make revenue now, or do you feel more a little bit more relaxed about it?
Oh no, the pressure goes up with every dollar
Okay.
in the bank account. The pressure goes up like tenfold. For sure, for sure.
Okay. And is that because you have to do the return on investment to the investors, or is that what adds that pressure on?
No, I think it's you in most cases, I would say, as a founder, you always put most pressure on yourself than the
Yeah.
exterior. But also with every round that we raised, obviously that came just after we had a spike in growth. And so it's like kind of you go from one quarter to the next, and you always want to outperform the previous quarter. That means
Yeah.
you're hiring more people. And that's like I often think about like what happens. Like there's a lot of families that now live off what we're doing here. And
Yeah.
obviously that puts some pressure onto you as well, for sure.
So you work closely with Fortune 500 executives on AI strategy. Where do large organizations actually get stuck?
That has changed tremendously from the last couple of years to where we are now. So initially, when we started the company, we were having a lot of executive conversations where they're like, "Ooh, we need to do something about this AI thing, but where do we start? Can you help me find a good like use case internally to work on with AI?" We don't have that anymore. At this stage, it's like, okay, here is the list. This is what we committed to our business, to our board. We need to execute on in the next 12 months, 24 months, but we don't know how to get through this list fast enough because
Mm,
the competitors are not sleeping on it. They are moving. And so we need to move right now because otherwise they will all outperform ours. And so
yeah.
that is usually what we see. Then the question is, how do they get through that list of backlog of use cases? And that is where they can go wrong sometimes or experiment because you can
Mm,
always, when you're talking large enterprise, they obviously have in-house developers. So a lot of people are considering, are we building technology ourselves or
mm-hmm.
are we buying technology? And so we've seen a lot where they decided to build something, but then somehow it failed. No one thought about the maintenance after the fact. Someone was leaving, the project got dropped, timelines were not met. So you can see bottlenecks there and kind of wrong
Mm,
turns. But
yeah.
thankfully, they can usually be course corrected, maybe a bit delayed,
Yeah.
but there's a lot out there in the market now to help you with your AI strategy.
I'm also in tech and I work with a lot of enterprise level companies. So I'm more in the like manufacturing, oil, gas, and mining space. And one of the things that I find with those industries, like you said, they'll either build in house, but because they're not tech companies, they're not following the processes that are going to give them the due diligence that they need, like a tech company. Like I find that like a tech company, we know the processes. There's documentation, there's certain roles for certain things. And I find that with these enterprise companies, because they're not necessarily tech companies, they skip a lot of those steps. And I find that documentation is like a big one. And like you said, a lot of things get missed and people leave. So like, do you think that with AI, these companies are going to be more open to letting, a tech company come in and do all of that for them and not have to necessarily do it in house because, you know, doesn't always go the way they want.
Yes and no. Initially, I think they were very open to having external vendors come in and help them because how would you just get enough AI developers? Like that is a pretty new discipline. And like if we look
Yeah.
at the Silicon Valley headcounts, news is like 800K for an AI developer seems to be the norm in the Valley now. Like who can
Oof.
afford that?
Yeah.
So initially they were open, but obviously with all the advantages and the advancements in AI now, there's also the coding tools, right? Developers or non-technical people can now vibe code and like
Yeah.
put in prompt to app type of things. And so what we are seeing though is a lot of people are experimenting with trying to build something. Often they fail and then they come back to buying. But it's a cycle everyone needs to go through. And I think
Yeah.
everyone is experimenting and there's nothing wrong with it. I think you really should think about what is your core IP and your core purpose of your business. And if you are a coffee shop chain or a fast food restaurant, should you really be building internal software? I mean, fine, you
Yeah.
might want to build your like rewards app or you're the car manufacturer and you want to build the self-driving car, but you probably have AI use cases in document processing, in HR tickets, in factory operation ticketing.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Do you need to build all of that? Is that why someone joined your company to build internal tools? Probably not. And so it's like think about what moves the needle most for your business. That's where you put your people on. Everything else, probably much smarter, better, more efficient, cheaper, and more performant in the long run, to work with an outside party.
Yeah, I really like that. That makes sense to me. So there is a lot of noise around AI right now. What does practical adoption really require inside an enterprise?
Yeah, so my pet peeve, to be honest, is always when
Okay.
someone tells me, I need agents. How can I buy AI
Oh,
agents? And I'm like, well, what are these agents supposed to be doing? Like we never ever start any POC or customer engagement without having very clear KPIs defined. And so
yeah.
we know exactly what are they trying to achieve and how are they measuring that. And so we always do like a full business value analysis for the customer, to help them evaluate our solution, but also to internally get the project through because there's a lot of experimentation in AI. And if you don't set the business objectives and the goals you want to hit with it from the get-go, you're usually not going to get there. And so that's super important. And we make sure that that happens every single time.
I find that people just think because AI is out there and they can prompt it, they're getting everything that they need. And I think there's so much education that needs to be had around AI, like proper prompting. Like there's courses for that now.
Mhm.
You and not trusting everything that AI, like you said, people are. It's a doctor. It's a lawyer. And people are using it for everything, and I think that's so dangerous, actually, because people are not necessarily reviewing the information that AI is giving back to them. They're just saying, okay, copy and paste versus like really looking at the information and making great decisions or countering and asking it a different question. So I think working with companies that like yours that are doing that due diligence, that are really programming AI to do the job that they're supposed to be doing, like an agent, right? Anybody can build an agent, but are they building it correctly?
Yeah, and honestly, it's a great point because in many cases, if the company, like the leadership, is not moving on the AI strategy and implementation fast enough, your employees will just use their personal ChatGPT accounts. That's
Yeah.
just the reality of things. So you better give them something because otherwise they'll get it on their personal accounts and your data might go somewhere, and it's not governed, it's not controlled, it's not managed. So you need to act, basically.
I actually did that with my entire company where everyone's using AI, but it's under our company account. So I think that's actually a really good point for anybody listening. Don't let your employees use their own personal chat GPTs and Claudes and things like that. What was the highest pressure moment you've experienced since starting Unframe?
Interesting one. I would say probably the first few employees that we hired. That was a huge pressure because it was like, are we sure that we have enough of an understanding of what we're doing to be able
Yeah,
to like pull people out of their jobs and focus them on what we are doing, you know? Um, Obviously, since then, there has been a lot of high pressure moments. But I do remember the early ones because it was like the first of many things, you know? When I did the
yeah,
first wire confirmation of our first funding coming into the bank account, honestly, I had never wired $50 million in my life. So it was like, that was super, super stressful. I had triple checked
yeah.
all of the different numbers. So it was extremely stressful. I remember this day very, very clearly. Since then, you know, there's a lot of things that were stressful once that get less and less stressful because you do more of it, you have more people, so you have a second pair of eyes versus initially, you know, I was running the legal and the finance and the marketing and the BDR team and sales and product, and it was all me. So every single function was like 25% of me and no one else. And so um,
Yeah,
there were a lot of moments where I was like, I wish there was someone else right now that I could discuss this with. Thankfully, now
yeah.
that is the case. And so you kind of, you know, even if ultimately as a founder the decision is with you, just having a second pair of eyes is really, really good.
In those early days when you felt like you were on your own and you didn't have someone to talk to, what made you get through your day?
I mean, look, we were still three founders, you know? So it was still, we always knew we have each other, and that has never
Yeah,
changed. Like, these two people that, other than my partner in life at home, but like,
yeah,
I can trust them blindly, you know? There's no question of like, is something being done or not done, or someone just hanging out on vacation, or are they working on this customer deal right now? Like, there's no question.
yeah.
Like, we trust each other blindly. But you know, I think you kind of sign up for it at the very start. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't plan for like, do I want to hang out with my friends right now or go for dinner or do this or go to the gym? It's like you kind of sign up for the first few months or years to be extra hard. And if you just set your mind to like, hey, let's figure this out. And then there's a moment in life for everything. And I'll get back to hanging out at the beach eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
And I think it's
So,
fine. It's just a matter of mindset.
yeah, no, for sure. So, as a COO, you sit at the center of execution. What
Hmm.
decision have you had to make without complete information?
Oh, interesting. I would say probably in like customer negotiations, you often have like two paths to go to. I could offer this option, I could offer that option. And sometimes it's like, okay, they tell the customer tells you their opinion, but on the other side is a large enterprise, right? So there's not just a single person, there's their management, there's their procurement, that there's legal team, their finance team, and everyone has a say. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like very often you have to trust your gut feeling in terms of what in a one-on-one conversation you're being told. But behind that, there's a lot of unknowns that you have no idea, and that could make or break a deal. And honestly, that in the early stages could make or break a company.
So, what internal struggles show up most for you as a leader at this stage?
Again, like we do work with very large companies, which means that and really critical software pieces. So we sign like 24/7 support every day of the year, no matter what, you know, at Christmas
Wow.
Day and New Year's. Like obviously that's hard when you're just a few people. Now we have close
Mm-hmm.
to 150 people. But nonetheless, that means we have people in many, many countries around the world speaking different languages, working in different time zones. And so having the constant communication and the handover and having everyone in sync on what needs to be done when, that can sometimes be a struggle, like in any other company, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's in addition to that is AI is just moving so fast, and we're moving particularly fast as a company, that you really need everyone to not like snooze any day because the world has moved on to the next new models and the next launches. And like if you log off from the news for like a couple of weeks, you missed many, many, many major AI announcements, and you kind of
Yeah.
need to know them when you're in a customer setting.
How do you keep up with AI?
Look, I always tell people like I wouldn't want to be a customer because it's really hard to navigate. There's new tools and new platforms and software launching every single
Every
day.
day, yeah.
Yeah, every day. So it is pretty hard. There's obviously certain podcasts that we like listening to, and our investors and board members are also very helpful because they obviously digest a lot of what's coming in and going out, and get a lot of different type of perspective. So we
Mm-hmm.
definitely get a lot, but ultimately, I think what our customers tell us as well is super interesting because they see it from a different angle. When I look at an AI tool, it's like I look at the business model, I look at the website, how are they positioning themselves. But as a customer, or when I hear from our customers, hey, we are working with this company on this specific thing, it's really interesting to hear it's working, it's not working, how is the user experience, how is it working with that team, you get a full perspective. So I think you need as in many things in life, you news from multiple angles, and then you kind of get the full rounded picture.
We both know that tech is very male dominated. I'm not sure what it's like in Germany, but what is it how is it for you getting into, I mean, you were in tech before, but being a COO in AI in tech, which is very male dominated, what are some of the things that you have had to overcome in that space?
I always jokingly say the big advantage of being a woman in tech is when I go to a tech conference, there's never a line at the bathroom, which it's like the one time in life. So
It's true.
it's very handy. But no, of course, I find myself being the only woman in the room many, many times. It's
Yeah.
not something that I'm not used to. But I would say it's like if you get over yourself and you can take it with a bit of humor, then I think it can also be an advantage because it's more recognizable to be a woman in a room as the only one. And I wouldn't just say it as a negative thing. It has helped me. But I do get really excited when we finally have women applying for roles, and I can hire someone who's a really, really kick-ass woman
Yeah.
leader, and we can give them an opportunity in the company and grow the team. And it's we're very excited. We have a female global sales leader, and our U.S. East leader in sales is also a woman. So we are really, I think they're very excited to have them. Amazing
Hmm.
leaders and very, very extremely well respected by everyone. And so that's exciting for us.
Do you find that now that you're starting to hire more women, how is that adding an advantage to your team?
I've never seen a case where diversity has not added to it, and that could be also different locations and languages. Doesn't necessarily
Hmm.
just have to be gender, but I think it just makes every team so much better. From being in a customer pitch and picking up different types of verbal and nonverbal communication and cues where I think women are sometimes much stronger from an EQ
Yeah.
perspective. Don't want to generalize it, but I think overall it benefits so much. Unfortunately, we're still not getting enough application from women in some roles, so wish we had more in certain areas. But it's definitely, I think the more we bring in strong women leaders, it also attracts others to come along. And so I'm very positive and hopeful for the future there.
What part of leadership style has had to evolve as the company scaled?
Yeah, I think initially it was super important for us as founders to be very close to many things because
Hmm.
we needed to make sure that the direction of the company and like the initial building was exactly the way that we committed it to our board and to our shareholders and so on and so forth. But now it's that time where we need to really think about how people that are on our teams scale themselves as well. And so how do we step out a bit to let them really blossom
Mm,
and find their path? Because we're well past that moment where three of us as founders can still be in every single decision and every call and every meeting. we need to enable others to perform the job that they were hired for. And so I think I don't think I'm completely there yet, quite honestly.
Mm,
There's still things that I love to dig in. I'm not just a manager. I'm really hands-on, and when I can, I love to see how, the sausage is made. And so
yeah.
it's something I'm interested in, but I appreciate I cannot be the bottleneck in every single decision.
Yeah, and that's a really good point and something that happens in startups a lot. So, can you tell me like one thing that you guys put in place to encourage employees to step up and, take leadership? What was something that you did?
I mean, just very operational, basic things where we started like an approval process for our new hires, or sending out offers, sending out contracts, and just defining, okay, this is where you can feel 100% comfortable to sign this. It's all good. You're
Hmm.
approved. This can go. If there's certain thresholds, then you need to come to me, or you need to come to two of us, and get multiple. But just like having the framework in place once, so everyone's
Hmm.
expectations are set, has really helped. And now it's almost like an automated machine, and it just happens automatically.
Well, we're coming up on time, but before we wrap up, I just have one last question for you. For founders trying to build in the AI space right now, what discipline will separate real companies from the trend followers?
I would always go back to meet the market. Do not sit in silos. Do not spend all your time on LinkedIn and Twitter and all of it and just like follow the buzz, because there's so much noise out there. Like
Mm,
really talk to people and see, is this what they need? Talk to your customers, talk to partners, talk to even if you start with your own friends and family, just like talk. That's
hmm.
I couldn't stress that enough, because if we had built a product or a platform of based on what we thought, we would be very, very far from what we're doing right now, and we're doing it very successfully.
Do you find that like people are using AI as a buzzword as well and not really digging into the actual technology of it?
Definitely seen cases where AI was put extremely high on a specific project just to get additional funding, because there
Mm,
usually is more funding for AI projects rather than traditional SaaS software in some cases. And so I've
yeah.
definitely seen that. Yeah.
Well, Larissa, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your insights and you being open to having this conversation with me.
Well, thanks for having me on today.
I want to thank Larissa for joining me today. There's a reason most AI initiatives die inside large companies. It's not because the technology doesn't work, it's because execution requires clarity, alignment, and operational discipline, and most organizations underestimate that lift. Capital doesn't solve that. Hype doesn't solve that. A strategy deck doesn't solve that. Execution is a leadership function. If you're a founder, especially in high noise markets, your job isn't to ride the wave. Your job is to build a system that outlasts it. This week, pick one initiative you keep talking about and force it into a measurable operational plan. And that's a wrap. Thank you for joining me on this journey of learning and growth. If this episode resonated with you, take a moment to subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share it with someone who's building through a challenge right now. You can also connect with us on social media and be part of a community that believes resilience is the real advantage. Remember, growth isn't linear, success isn't guaranteed, and setbacks are part of the process. What matters is how you execute. This is Sonia signing off, but as always, keep chasing your dreams with tenacity.